The mall was bustling with holiday spirit a week before Christmas. I had recently secured a position as a part-time security guard at the Winterland Mall, well known for its elaborate Christmas decor. You know, reindeer, faux snow, and of course, the main man himself, Santa Claus. I felt my job was an easy one. It was my responsibility to watch over jolly old St. Nick, to make sure that he didn't drink too much of that spiked eggnog, and, above all, to make sure he didn't frighten the children. They had hired a large and believable-looking Santa Claus for the holiday season. His white beard and flushed cheeks give him an air of authenticity. For hours, children and their guardians waited in line to take pictures with him, while I hovered around, acting as though my donut was the center of attention. However, I didn't feel comfortable with this Santa for some reason. His eyes always had this dark twinkle in them, as if he was planning something, and I felt that whenever I looked at him, I convinced myself that the guy was merely attempting to maintain his character, and that I was being overly suspicious. Then Christmas Eve arrived. A long line stretched to the food court to see Santa in the packed mall. I watched from the shadows and saw Santa adjusting his gloves. He glanced around anxiously, making sure no one was observing. I saw a weird bulge in his sack at that moment. It appeared to be a bag filled with cash rather than a sack filled with gifts. As soon as I realized what was going on, my heart began to race. This Santa was no typical mall Santa. Rather, he was a thief using the Christmas season as a front. I informed my fellow security guard, Dave, over the radio about what I had observed. At first, he thought I was kidding, but as he looked closer, his face went white. We determined we had to move quickly. Santa could not escape with a satchel full of pilfered goods. We discreetly informed the mall management of the situation and called the police. They made the decision to go along with it, feigning involvement while subtly requesting more help. I couldn't help but feel a sense of dread as the line to see Santa was getting shorter. The kids seemed blissfully unaware, laughing and posing for pictures. But what if Santa realized we were onto him? Would he pull out a weapon? At last, the reckoning was upon us. A small boy, maybe 6 years old, was Santa's final guest of the evening. We saw it when the boy's mother gave Santa her phone to take a picture. A small, shiny gun was visible when the boy's toy truck fell out of his pocket. Santa became anxious and his eyes grew wide. Dave and I moved in quickly, taking down the would-be thief in time to see the cops pull up. When it came out, Santa had been using this gig as a cover to scout out the mall for a potential heist. He had a lengthy rap sheet. At least nobody was harmed, which surprised the children and their parents. That Christmas, we discovered that beneath the most upbeat facades, there can occasionally be the most unexpected dangers. Regarding myself, my perspective on Santa Claus will never be the same. On Christmas Day, the entire family had gathered at my house for a meal. Warm and cheer were in the air, thanks to the aroma of a roast turkey and the sparkling lights of the Christmas tree. Laughing and clinking glasses, my parents, siblings, and cousins crowded into the comfortable living room. The happiness was evident as we were finishing our filling meal. While the adults sipped hot cider and shared stories, the younger children played with their new toys. But in the middle of all that fun, I heard something that gave me the chills. Shouting came from the outside, then a sudden, sharp gunshot. As I excused myself from the table and told my family that I had to check on something, my heart began to race. I quickly put on my coat and boots before running to the front door. I had a terrible feeling that something was seriously wrong, and I couldn't ignore it. I felt the chilly air nip at my skin as I went outside. I was able to see two figures struggling ferociously in my neighbor's front yard despite the darkness of the night, thanks to the moon's dim glow. One of them was my neighbor, Mr. Johnson, a grizzled old man with a reputation for stubbornness. The other was a cloaked, hunched over figure who was obviously attempting to overwhelm him. A knot formed in my stomach, and I impulsively ran in their direction. As I got closer, the fear in my chest intensified, and my breath came out in icy puffs. I couldn't quite understand what the gunman was saying as he yelled at Mr. Johnson. My voice was shaking as I yelled, "Stop!" Although the intruder's ski mask covered his face, the venom in his eyes was obvious as he turned to face me. A terrifying reminder of the peril we were in, he held the gun tightly in his hand. Mr. Johnson seized the opportunity to attack the intrusion by using surprising strength for his age and the lunging at the object of his momentary distraction. He succeeded in removing the man's grip on the gun, and it dropped to the ground. Grunts and expletives could be heard throughout the night as he grappled in the snow-covered lawn. I charged in to try to assist Mr. Johnson because I couldn't just stand there. The intruder was dangerous and desperate, but together we were able to subdue him. In the pitch-black distance, he ran after being released. When we called the police, they quickly showed up. I couldn't help but wonder how this terrifying Christmas confrontation had come to be as they were taking our statements. Was it just a random act of violence? Or was there something more sinister at work when someone chose to target Mr. Johnson? One thing was obvious throughout the rest of the evening. The gunshot that had rung out on Christmas Day had shattered the holiday spirit. My family and I huddled inside, attempting to make sense of the mayhem that had broken out just outside our door. The unease persisted as the hours went by and the police carried out their investigation. Christmas was supposed to be a reason of joy and family, but that particular year, it had instead become a terrifying reminder of how unpredictable life can be. I'll never forget that Christmas when the sound of a gunshot cut through the festive facade to reveal the dangers that might be waiting just outside the door. On Christmas Day, my family and I were traveling to a festive event in the holiday spirit. As I drove on the icy roads, my wife, Sarah, and our young daughter, Emily, were singing along to the Christmas songs playing on the radio. We anticipated a day of joy and laughter as the snow outside painted a picture-perfect Christmas scene. I couldn't help but smile as we sped through the empty, snow-covered streets because I knew that they were about to make priceless memories. I couldn't have asked for a better Christmas than the one I had thanks to Emily's infectious excitement. I had no idea that the situation was about to take a horrifying turn. I observed two people standing in the middle of the road in Santa Claus costumes up ahead. They made me laugh, and I assumed that they were a part of some elaborate Christmas celebration. I stopped the car, hoping for a pleasant surprise, but I saw something strange in their eyes as they drew near. They weren't there to bring joy. They came for something entirely different. I rolled my window down reluctantly when one of them tapped on it. I immediately sensed that there was a serious problem when the smell of alcohol filled the car. Though their faces were covered by fake beards, their motives were obvious. The taller Santa grinned menacingly and demanded, "Hand over your wallet and your keys." I looked at Sarah and Emily in the rearview mirror as fear swept through me. Their faces were scarred with panic and terror. My heart began to race as I came to the conclusion that these were criminals rather than your typical Christmas enthusiasts. To keep my family safe, I had to. My hands shook as I reached for my wallet, but I was unable to hand it all over easily. The other Santa had other plans in mind, though I thought I could outsmart them. My collar was grabbed as he reached into the car, and before I knew it, they both had me pinned down. My chest was pounding as I struggled. Sarah was rendered helpless by fear as Emily started to sob. I was powerless to defend my family from the Santa's avarice because they were more powerful than they appeared to be. A miracle in the form of headlights materialized, just as it seemed all hope had been lost. Another vehicle was speeding in our direction. After rounding the corner, the Santas briefly let go of me after being startled by the approaching car. I took advantage of the situation by shoving them away and rushing back to the car. A big man leaped out as a Good Samaritan's car skidded to a stop. He wasn't alone. His friends trailed closely behind. The would-be robbers were forced to flee into the pitch-black, snowy night as a result of their yells at them. Although my family and I were secure, our holiday spirit was dampened. On a day meant for celebration, I never anticipated such danger. As the strangers checked on us to make sure we were okay, gratitude and relief flooded my veins. Although the incident left us with a bad taste in our mouths, it also taught us the true meaning of Christmas, the value of family, love, and the goodness of strangers. We went on to the Christmas event, but the holiday cheer was overshadowed by the horror we had just gone through. I came to understand that Christmas wasn't just about gifts and decorations. As we sat next to one another, holding one another close, it also was about the ties that bound us together and the generosity of those who would come to our aid when we most needed it.